Hey beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chef Rob. Today's video is brought to you by Golden Ratio Coffee. I learned something new. Olive oil poaching, and the way I found out, it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, olive oil poached seafood is the best.
That's the best shrimp I've ever had. Can I clean my cutting board?
It's hard to explain the texture of it, but it just feels right. Like, this is how you're supposed to cook seafood. A quick trigger warning, tostadas, they have carbs, they're made out of corn, and in fact, there's gonna be some corn in this recipe. Lately, I've been doing very low carb, not completely keto, but for you keto people out there watching this, I know you're out there, go ahead and use Mission's low carb tortilla, or use even better, jicama replacement. Seafood in this recipe is gonna be shrimp, calamari, and octopus. Octopus takes the longest, so we're gonna start there. Now we're gonna get a pot on the side here full of water, just plain water, and we're gonna get that to a boil. I'm gonna explain that in a second. Okay, in a small pot, we are gonna put about 5 to 8 cups of olive oil in there. Pretty much the more olive oil you have, the easier it's gonna hold its temperature. We're cooking this at 120 degrees. Now careful, that pot of olive oil, it's gonna heat up really quickly. So I'm putting it on the oven, and I'm constantly checking it with a thermometer. Now we're gonna flavor this olive oil, and we're doing that with some garlic and some cilantro, stem and all, throw it right in there, and that's gonna be the seasoning for our oil. That's perfect. So octopus, trim off the ends with a pair of scissors because those are too thin and they're gonna overcook in the boiling water.
So it looks like this.
What do I do?
There you go, just cut them off.
Scissors?
Scissors are fine. There you go.
Her friend looks horrified. I'm gonna throw up.
Perfect, so now
Yeah, it's not that gross.
you got it. Ugh. The gagging is my favorite part of this.
Just buy fresh octopus. It shouldn't smell and it shouldn't be too slimy. Just get really good fresh octopus. Whole Foods is fine. You can also just trim off the legs and cook just the legs. I'm throwing the whole thing in there, minus the head. And to season this, we're throwing in some more cilantro, and we're also putting in some lemon peel. Also, another crushed clove of garlic. Another little trick I learned is when you throw this into the boiling water, you can use a kitchen towel to weigh it down. Okay, so into the boiling water it goes, and we can kind of just forget about this for a while. Now our other two proteins here is shrimp and calamari. The guys at Whole Foods, I asked for a handful of calamari. What does he give me? He gives me just the tentacle parts, and instead of the tubes. But you know what? It turned out pretty well in this. And the shrimp, save yourself some time and get shelled and deveined ones. Now double check the temperature, make sure it's 120. In my case, it was a little bit higher, but that's okay because I'm gonna throw the shrimp and the calamari in, and that's gonna bring the temperature back down to 120. So while the oil is cooling down, I'm gonna keep it on my cutting board just to keep it in front of me. I'm gonna keep checking the temperature, and as soon as it goes below 120, it's gonna go back on the heat. But in the meantime, I'm gonna make a quick pickle, and a quick pickle is where you just take a vegetable, some hot vinegar, throw in some salt, leave out the sugar. We're doing a little bit of cilantro and a chili pepper. In this case, I'm using a serrano pepper, and we're gonna let that cool off to the side. Everything is cooking, and all that's left to do is to slice up our vegetables and mix all of this together, so it's a perfect time to have a quick coffee break. Golden Ratio, they found the beautiful in between tea and coffee that I fit right in. It's a lighter style coffee. It's also convenient. It's 5 times less acidic, so say goodbye to those upset stomachs that you get after you have a cup of traditionally roasted coffee. And on top of that, it's also just a really convenient way to have coffee. So it's in a nice sealed package, so when you open it up, it's super fresh. By the way, all of their flavors are keto friendly. So dunk it in some hot water, and that's it. Go ahead and check the description for my discount code. It'll send you to their website where you can get some of this for yourselves. Now it's time to go ahead and start toasting our tostadas. Now get yourself a cast iron pan, a little bit of vegetable oil, throw it in the pan, crank this baby up, and we're just gonna give these a simple fry. At this point, the olive oil has gone below 120 degrees. So we're gonna throw it back on the induction cooktop and let this warm back up, checking it with a probe thermometer to make sure that it doesn't go too high over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it's time to check on our octopus. You're gonna know it's done when you slice through one of the legs and it slices through easy, it's not gummy, it's not rubbery, it's soft. Aim for around 30 minutes to an hour. It really depends on how thick the legs or the tentacles are of the octopus. Go ahead and slice them up, find a nice little bowl, toss them in. It's gonna be time to start assembling our toppings for the tostadas. And I'm slicing these as thin as possible. We're gonna slice up some red onions. Once again, slice these as thin as possible. Now, on top of the radish and the onions, we're gonna slice up a cucumber. I'm just taking some of the skin off and then throwing it in the bowl. Some thin slices of avocado going in. And at this point, our pepper is done pickling. So we're gonna go ahead and just flick these into the bowl. Don't worry if you get some of that vinegar in there. It's gonna taste great. Now, on top of all those vegetables and the octopus, we're gonna go ahead and take half of a lemon and we're gonna squeeze the juice of that on top. So how do you know that the shrimp and calamari are done? Well, you've seen a cooked shrimp before, like grilled or whatever. The shell of it starts to get red and the tail starts to curl in. Once that tail starts curling in and the shell is red, that means it's cooked through and good to go. We're gonna throw all the seafood on the cutting board and we're gonna start slicing this nice and thin to match the rest of the contents of the bowl. Don't forget to sneak a little taste of that shrimp because I want you to taste this on its own. I'm telling you, this is the best way to cook a shrimp. Really enjoy this recipe. This is one of those things that you can throw together, put a bunch of shells out on a table and let people make for themselves at like a party or something like that. This recipe really turned out awesome, guys. I hope you try it and I hope you are as surprised that this Selena Gomez recipe is amazing as it is. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Stay healthy. Peace.
I love Selena Gomez. Yeah, I like this. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to hate on her being chef, you know, and like doing chef things, but I'm gonna give it to her.